Hi, welcome back to the channel. I'm Michelle, and today I wanted to share a video of sometimes things are just hard and there's no particular reason, there's no, event that happened that made things difficult. I think on social media, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, things like that, we're often given an image, right? And it's usually a positive image that things are going really well, or this is happening, especially in the homeschooling community, you get a lot of that. Or if you talk about struggles, it's usually struggles within curriculum itself, not necessarily struggles you're having. And we just had a week where it was just a struggle and difficult. And it wasn't one particular thing, it wasn't homeschooling curriculum, it was nothing like that. It was just a crabby week. And I want to normalize that and put it out there that, that's normal. It's not always sunshine and rainbows. Sometimes it's just, you wake up on the wrong side of the bed, you have a bad day, you have a bad week. For us, it was just a collision of a lot of little things that made our week harder. So this past week, we were coming off of our week breaks. We do 6 weeks on, 1 week off. I'll put a link up to that schedule that we do. But for this vacation particularly, it was our first time going somewhere else. We went to a water park resort. I have a video where I detail, kind of what we ate as a gluten-free family of 5. Link that up above as well. But it was our first time, and the first time my 2-year-old had gone anywhere like this before. So although it was fun, it was stressful in itself. But I made sure to make 3 days before we would start, back to our normal school week to kind of rest and get used to things. We did have a family visit for one of those days, so that was nice. But we did have a nice, rest into going into this week. And I knew there'd be, some residual crabbiness or some resistance just because we had this really exciting week and now we're going back to the mundane of everyday life. But it was more than that. I mean, there was some slight crabbiness. For some reason, I don't know if it's the weather or if it's a seasonal thing, but my 2 oldest are just constantly bickering about the most ridiculous things. We have probably 30, 35 Barbie dolls, I'm not even exaggerating on that, and they will find one of them to argue over. So just a lot of nitpicking, and for some reason my oldest was just really pushing my youngest daughter's buttons, and they were just really getting into it. So there was that aspect of it. My youngest child, who was 2.5, since we got back, I don't know if it was a change in his schedule, if it's a growth thing, but he was just not sleeping. He wasn't sleeping well at night. He started waking up again. He tried to drop his nap, but he still needed his nap, so he was just super crabby for probably 2 or 3 days and just constantly screaming and having trouble verbalizing what he wanted, so a lot of tantrums. So all these things are going on, and on top of that, my husband's work week was just really long. If you're new here, my husband is a pastor, and he had Monday through Thursday a meeting a longer meeting every single day. So it would be one of those, he got up at 8 before most of the kids were awake, took care of his stuff, went to work, got home probably 8 o'clock that night. And the kids' bedtime my youngest bedtime is 8, my older 2 kids' bedtime is 8:30. So he would see them for just, a little chunk of time before they had to go to bed. But I would be handling all the breakfast routine, the dinner routine, the baths, the showers, all those things were kind of on me. And it's not just, church-related work. My husband does do things for our church senate as well. So he just had a lot on his plate, which means all of the home things were put on my plate. And I think, and it wasn't even related to homeschooling. I think homeschooling kind of evened out our schedule. It gave us kind of, this is what comes next. It gave us that routine, that structure that, my kids really enjoy and thrive off. But everybody was just crabby and tired and getting on each other's nerves, and it was really hard for me because taking on everything, especially when it comes to home life, was difficult. I didn't get any breaks. I have to, because of my daughter's celiac disease, we eat everything that I make most of our things from scratch. So, if it's a hard night, I can't order pizza or I can't order Chinese food to make it easier for myself. Everything I have to prepare breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So that's stressful in itself. And I knew the week going back would be more stressful. So I did plan simple meals. Nothing that would take a lot of time, but I still had to go through it. I get through the entire day taking care of everybody, making sure everybody's fed, making sure school done, and then I have to, continue to do it on and on and on. And I know there's this big advocacy for, self-care, and I think it's really important, but there are certain times where it can be very difficult, We don't have a village. I think it's very hard when you're kind of by yourself doing things. We don't have family that live near us. The nearest family is 2 to 3 hours away. All the friends I have, they work during the day. They can't swing by and help me out. People have lives and their own responsibilities. So, I can't drop my kids or my youngest at Grandma and Grandpa's for a couple hours to, get something done. My husband's off working, doing what he needs to do, so it's kind of all on me. And I don't think we talk about that too. I see we have these videos talking about self-care and waking up early and having a cup of coffee before the kids are up. Well, that's just not the season of life I'm in right now. My kids, like I said, my youngest was waking up, so I wasn't rested. There's no way I am getting up at 5 a.m. and I don't drink coffee. Not really, occasionally, but I don't really enjoy it. So when it came to that 8 o'clock at night, the kids were done, everything was done, I was exhausted. I didn't literally want to do anything. I would just sit in a room, in a quiet room, and just sit there. Because there's no noise, there's no kids running around, there's nothing to do. I would just sit there. But I think when you're going through those difficult times, or day or week, whatever it is, you're pretty much in survival mode. So taking that 5 minutes to yourself sometimes is really hard. I feel like we feel bad that we can't take care of ourselves, but sometimes there's a lot on our plates, and we can't feel guilty that, yes, I think it's important to take time for ourselves, but it's also important to get things done. And one thing I noticed, especially is, towards the end of the week, probably Thursday, Friday, I was starting to manifest a lot of this stress I was feeling physically. And I'm definitely getting to the age where, I could take a lot of stress. I grew up in a very chaotic environment, things like that. I can take a lot of stress, but now it's physically showing itself in my body. So I get, between my shoulder blades, it starts to really hurt. I get what I call my stress lump. And I got a really bad headache for like 2 days straight. And I just felt, crappy. And I was crabby along with everybody else. And when mom's crabby, we all know it doesn't go well. And my chiropractor was out of town for the week, so usually I will get an adjustment when I'm feeling that physical stress, and that usually really helps, but she was out of the town for the week, so that wasn't an option. So it was just a really hard week, and there was no one particular thing that made it hard. It was just kind of like a perfect storm of little tiny things that all added together. And I know some people will be like, oh, we should have just taken the week off. And yeah, like I said, we could have, but I think the structure of homeschooling actually went really well. We didn't have any issues with that. It was just the everyday life stuff that was kind of catching up to us and just really difficult. And that's completely normal. Everyday mundane things can make things difficult sometimes. They can stress you out, they can make people crabby. Sometimes you just have a lot on your plate, and that's completely normal. Those times will pass, seasons will change. It won't always be like that, but you still need to validate the feelings and the difficultness while you're going through it and acknowledge it, because I think it's important. So if you're someone that's having a hard day or hard week or hard month, I feel you. I'm there. I understand. So remember, you're not alone in that. As always, thank you for watching.